The news is talking almost every single report about Harvey Weinstein, the director and producer and Hollywood mogul. Really he was, but it seems that for a long time, a lot of people knew he was an inappropriate fella, to say the least. Suzanne Coates is the CEO of Turning Point, a provider of services supporting victims of domestic violence and sexual assault, on our AT&T line. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
How do you explain, or have you thought at all about the fact that this very, very successful Hollywood producer now all of a sudden has his world crashing down around him, and most of the allegations are years and years old? How do you explain the fact that people didn't come forward until now?
Well, I think that when you have somebody that's extremely powerful and has a lot of influence and can threaten consequences that may be lifelong and life-altering for yourself, that keeps people from disclosing. And most of the time people think that they're very alone in that disclosure.
So it takes one brave person to come forward and speak out, and then all of a sudden that sort of breaks the ice, and then you get a cascade of people who say, yeah, that happened to me too.
Yeah, that's been the pattern that we've seen over and over again in these situations, where one person comes forward and then another person says, oh my God, yes, that happened to me too. And, you know, that there is support in that. There is, you know, but I think the bigger question here is, why is it that we need to do that? Why is it that people don't feel comfortable coming forward in the first place?
What do you think the answer is?
I think because they believe that they will be held responsible, that they will be blamed, and that nothing will be done, and that they will suffer, like I said earlier, the consequences of reporting, and don't trust that anything will be done by the system, because more than likely it won't be.
Is that true in your experience?
It's very true in my experience. Even with reported sexual assaults, I mean, we always hear, oh, people need to report. And yes, that's a good thing to report. And I support that. And we've done a lot of work over the many, many years of trying to make sure that that experience is more sensitive and less blaming, and all of the work that's been done over the last 20 years. But still, in the majority of cases, are not prosecuted.
Let me ask you this. Now, Woody Allen, who says, you know, he's had his own dubious activities that he's taken some heat for over the years, but he also says that he's sad for the victims, and he's sad for Weinstein because his life is now so messed up. But he also worries that the growing sexual assault, harassment allegations could lead to a witch hunt in which every guy who winks at a woman needs a lawyer to defend himself. How do those words strike you?
A bit preposterous. I don't like, as we just said, the majority of the time, there isn't anything that is ever done in sexual assault cases, or even in sexual harassment cases. And sexual harassment is typically a pattern of behavior. It isn't something that, oh, yeah, I'm flirting with you. There is equal power in that. There's an equal power in that power dynamic in that relationship. And sexual harassment and assault are about power. And, you know, and typically they're serial behaviors that do not have anything to do with sexuality and flirting.
We're right across the street from the Capitol, your direct connection to the Capitol, House Bill 4691, we've talked about in the past, but I wanted to get your take on this too. What it does, as I understand it, to simplify it, is proposes changing the custody decisions in Michigan to a presumption of joint physical legal custody and equal parenting time as the starting point for all custody cases. In other words, it's going to be 50-50 right from the start, and we see where we go from there.
Correct. And my take on it is that it is a one-size-fits-all attempt that changes the current framework of custody from best interest of the child to, I want to make sure that we really understand what it is. It's physical and it's joint physical legal custody, which means that the child has to go between two homes. And we're very concerned about this as a public policy. We're not really sure what the reason what is it trying to correct? We're not really quite sure. But the proposed legislation really does assume that this is in the best interest of all children and all families, and that's just simply not true, especially for domestic violence victims. We really do believe that this law is going to have some serious unintended consequences, such as clogging our courts. But most importantly, we did ask women in our shelter, in our domestic violence shelter, if this were currently the law of the land, the law in Michigan, how would that impact their ability to leave, or would they leave? And the majority said that they wouldn't leave, that this would be a huge barrier, a huge obstacle to overcome. And many just do not have the support to attorneys, the access to attorneys, the resources to purchase those legal services. And so we have a lot of concern that this is being considered in our state.
So we'd start at 50-50, and then if you'd have to make the case why it shouldn't be 50-50, right? Is that
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And that is going to take court hearings. For the majority of people, joint custody, joint physical legal custody isn't something like if they have a good relationship, at post-divorce, this is something that can be worked out. And but I think that this is going to have some real unintended consequences for the most vulnerable people in our state.
What is Turning Point?
Turning Point is a domestic violence sexual assault center located in Macomb County, and we provide emergency support and prevention education regarding domestic and sexual violence.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne. We appreciate that very much. TurningPointMacomb.org if you want more information, and we'll talk again as we see whether or not House Bill 4691 progresses. Monday is progressing. It's Michael Patrick Shields. Happy to have you with us through the AT&T microphones, and back in a flash.